Yeah.
All right.
They call it flip, okay.
Good morning. I'd like to call the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, January 30th to order and welcome Reverend Sid Stein for our invocation. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a blessing to be here with you to give the invocation today, especially one day right after Kansas's 163rd birthday. And I was reminded about how Atchison County had a big role in us entering into the union as a free state, and especially with the statue out front with Abraham Lincoln. And actually the Methodists were the ones that invited him to come and speak, and spoke at that little tiny building that was across the way here. So it made me think about what a challenge it was. I mean, you all have a challenge in leading the community, but can you imagine what that was for all the leaders back then? Not knowing what was going to happen in the country or where it was going and all that. So with that, I wanted to today also bring you an invitation to an event that we're having. This is was part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but it got rescheduled. So my dear friend Daryl Burton will be over to speak. We'll have on February 19th. And so we're going to correlate with the history of Atchison as well. As Daryl works with Justice and Mercy. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime that he didn't commit and served 24 years in the Missouri prison system. But he comes with a good message about how we can live lives to be better and not bitter in forgiveness as well. And so it would be enlightening for anybody. So I would encourage you to pass those out or take them yourselves to remember. And then so he'll be speaking at 5:30 on February 19th at the Atchison United Methodist Church. And then he'll do a read and reception. He has a book that's just released called Innocence: A Second Look at the Cultural Center. So I come with an invitation as well. And now let's join together in the invitation to faith. We come before you, O great God of all, not to ask for a blessing as a stamp of approval of the work here, but rather the blessing of your presence to guide and to strengthen in the challenges of leadership and the responsibility to care for one another. May there be gratitude for the privilege and trust that has been afforded this elected body. You, O God, have told us what is good, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you. May there be a weightiness of thoughtful decision-making, realizing that decisions made here have a lasting impact for children and adults and all of your people in our today and in the future, which will soon become our history. Amen. Blessings to you as you meet today.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
public comment.
Oh, thank you.
All right, seeing none, approval of the minutes.
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, from January 23rd of 24.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Nolan.
I don't have any today.
Commissioner Rubin.
The only thing I've done is we had a juvenile corrections advisory board meeting in Leavenworth yesterday, and it was very productive, and see which way it goes, but we engaged with Leavenworth County Commissioners a little bit, and so I look forward to seeing how this develops.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it's been out on social media and on our website, but I seem to get a lot of several questions about when our tax sale is. So I just wanted to make sure and notate that the tax sale has been set for Tuesday, February 27th at 3 p.m. at Memorial Hall. So just making sure everybody's aware of that. All right, new business. I have a couple amendments here from our community corrections director. So I would look for a motion to allow the chair to sign the amendment in the amount of $11,517.52. This is the KDOC award to Atchison County Community Corrections to provide staff with pay enhancements. Do I have a motion to allow me to sign this budget amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay. Right. I have another amendment that I look for a motion to approve quarterly grant budget amendment. In the total amount of $12,000. 5,400 of it is for contractual salary and benefits. 4,600 is for equipment and salary and benefits, and 2,000 for travel. So Atchison will move 10,000 into JISP from CMA and JIAS, and then move 4,600. Oh, and then that's the breakdown, 4,600, 5,400. Do I have a motion to allow me to sign this budget amendment as presented from our community corrections director?
So moved.
Yeah, I'll second and ask for discussion.
Okay,
Yeah, I just want to point out that this is a transfer within the grant funding, so it's not additional monies from the county. Same with the other one. It was just basically a rubber stamp on things that should have been done several months ago. So no impact on the county budget.
perfect. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Okay. All right. Joe Snyder Road and Bridge Superintendent bid opening, lease purchase equipment financing. Morning.
Good morning. How are you all today?
How are you?
Good. If you don't mind.
You received 3 bids.
And this is bid opening for.
And as soon as I get those, I will read all that, or I can do it now.
For the public, what is this for?
Yes, it is for the purchase of a 2024 Cat 140/15 AWJ motor grader. And which is in Topeka right now. It just got delivered to Topeka, so hopefully in 10 days we will have it. And also a 2023 Cat 289 D3 track skid steer. The financing on those two.
I labeled my envelopes.
All right.
This is just bid opening on the finance.
On the finance, yes. This one is from Exchange National. And it's for $310,928 is the amount we're financing. Their interest rate is 4.9% with a semi-annual payment of $26,503.68.
What's the term?
7 years.
They're all 7 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
these are 7 years. The second one is from First Option Bank, Troy. And it is at 4.76% interest. With the payment of semi-annual payment of $26,377.25. And the third one is DNB Bank. And it is at 5.25%. With no annual payment figure, semi-annual payment figure. So first option bank is less than the other, so an exchange,
That's your recommendation.
that would be my recommendation is.
Look for a motion to approve First Option Bank in Troy to finance for 7 years, the total amount of $310,928 with an annual rate of 4.76% and a payment of $26,377.25. Have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Our second bid opening will be the removal of bridge 23-9-M.6.
You received 2 bids on this one. I sliced it.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, this first one is from Steve Marlatt Construction. If it wants to come out.
It is a sealed bid.
It is a sealed bid, most definitely. There's gonna be nothing left of this envelope.
Get stuff to get done.
Yeah. A lump sum of $66,750.
You see 7-6.
$66,750. Right. And this one is by Shane Hankey. And his bid is $53,500. And I would like a week to discuss everything and look over these before we make a decision.
And that be bonded, insured, and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just want to look this over like I normally do.
Okay.
And I do want you to know that I have specifically contacted 2 other contractors, but that had been sent to everyone in the county.
Okay.
So everybody knows that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And then Ben will come up now. I'll be back.
Okay, perfect. Next is Ben Taylor, our noxious weed director, with the 2024 noxious weed management plan. Welcome. How are you?
Morning.
Morning.
Believe you guys should have all received a copy of this. Some of the changes that I made this year to this is mainly the enforcement rules.
Okay.
Where I had really good luck this last year of attempting to contact the landowner and explain and educate the treatment and a plan to control it before we proceed further with legal action on them. That's worked really, really good. I didn't have to actually send any legal notices out to anybody because it's worked really good. And other than that, everything pretty much stays the same here. We had really good success using John Deere Gator last year, spraying our bridges and guardrails, and that really helped a lot, getting more and more done. And so you guys have had a chance to look that over. I just need some signatures to submit it to the Department of Agriculture.
Awesome. I just appreciate you and the job you've done because it goes a long way with our constituents, with someone willing to reach out and explain the process and tell them versus just firing a letter of legal action. So thank you. I know that I've had really great feedback from the job you're doing.
Good.
So just wanted to tell you, thank you. All right, well, with that, I would look for a motion to approve our 2024 noxious weed management plan as presented from our noxious weed director, Ben Taylor.
So move.
Yep, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
And I'd like for you to explain to them what you're getting ready to do with with the schools.
Oh,
Scholarship.
scholarship program.
Okay,
Wow.
1 second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. All right,
Sorry.
go for it. Yep.
Okay,
It's not long.
I'm
the
sorry.
CWDAK offers a scholarship program where I've reached out to all the high schools in our area to let school counselors know to make it aware to their students that are going to be attending a Kansas college in an agricultural department. So, and they've included, that could be veterinarian or, you know, farming, anything to do with agriculture.
Mhm.
So I've been asked to go ask for some donations and which I'm working on now to go around to some of the local businesses and the community to ask for donations to help with the scholarship fund. And then each year they give out 5 scholarships because there's 5 different districts. And so on top of that, any student that's parent is involved with a noxious weed department throughout the state, if their kids apply to it, they're also so many are selected to get the scholarship as well. So I feel like it's an important thing to be involved in to make especially our senior students aware that there is scholarships available. And so I just spoke with Joe this morning on it, and we're putting together some flyers and stuff to go put up in
Awesome.
businesses and try to generate some income on that.
Would you have a list of all the users of your program too in the county?
Yes.
Maybe that's something you can do too. So
Yeah.
contact all of them.
Yep. Yeah.
That gets
And-
your ag family.
Well, and one of our biggest donators are our suppliers. They come to our annual conference and
Right.
so how a lot of it works is certain chemicals that we purchase, and I try to purchase those chemicals, an amount of those chemicals, they'll match and donate that much money.
I got you.
Nice.
Good.
So the more chemicals we sell in Atchison County through your program,
Yes.
the more money the kids get.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And last year, I believe they gave away 5 scholarships. Each one of them were $1,500 each scholarships. And this year, I think they're hoping to make it $2,500.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I think it's a good project for us to be involved in. And like I said, I've got a daughter going through college, and I know that get them whatever you can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good resource. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's anything to add to that,
Nope,
Joe?
you're good. You're good.
Do you need a signature on
Yeah.
that at all?
Yes, I'll sign it.
Yeah.
I usually do.
It's always when you don't have one, this when you need it the most.
30th.
Should know that.
I just. Okay, so. Okay, thank you.
And they'll get that to us later.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
Thank you.
And I want to ditto that. Ben has done a good job. And I don't expect anything to change on that part.
Nope.
And he keeps me informed, and we work together with Emily to try to get these things accomplished like they should be. It'll also be posted on Facebook, our Facebook page. So we're gonna get it out there the best we can.
How many do we have licensed besides Ben?
It's just Ben right now. There's 2 of us that have taken the class, but we haven't taken the tests.
Okay.
So we're gonna try to get that accomplished this year.
It'd be great, yeah, 2 or 3 deep all the time, it's
We
great.
need to, for sure, so,
You never know when somebody's gonna be on vacation or sick.
that's
or-
right, but,
Yeah.
that's right, so
or
that's
We've-
where we
we've
are.
discussed that.
Yep. We've-
So yeah, and I'll second go with that. It's been a learning experience, but I feel like with the team that we have, we've been moving in the right direction with everything, so.
Awesome.
Right, well, thank you.
Thank you
man.
so much.
Thanks.
Okay, Joe Snyder, Road and Bridge for the site number 2 Ottawa Road update and a purchase order approval.
Okay, they showed up yesterday. Ottawa Road is closed from 230th to Potter. They were supposed to start tree rubbing and everything today. So we are in the process of rocking Rollins Road from 210 at Potter to 230th, because that's gonna be one of the alternate routes. And you know, unfortunately, our roads are suffering a little bit right now. And also our portion of 206th Road on the county line to get the Osage. And they're both bus routes. So we are, like I said, in the process of getting those rocked, because that's where all the travel is going to be, in the school bus routes. But that's where they're at, and hopefully, you know, we got 10 days of good weather. Let's hope we have a lot. So they have like 45 days, working days to have this job completed. And being as I'm talking about the roads, we are making a list. We have someone driving the county looking at the roads. We're going to start with the worst and the school bus routes. Those will be our priority on getting them ready so that the buses can get down them. And anybody feel free to call and let us know. We understand, but we will do the best we can.
I heard Lincoln is in bad shape.
Yeah, as soon as we get done, it's one of the roads. So we have the list and he's bringing it in, and Emily and Miranda did it this morning, going through and putting the roads in order with bus routes on top. And that's how we're going to attack this thing for right now. So feel free, if anyone listening, to call the office and then let us know. And we are addressing them as we can.
Have you looked at Lincoln long-term as far as should it be at some point paved or?
Well,
And
I don't-
it's got Park Township and Park County.
Yeah.
And I know a lot.
so
about
there's
that
a
road.
there's a lot of,
traffic on that road.
yes, there is.
People
there
come
is.
through there a lot.
That has been mentioned before. I think that that's something we can discuss in the future on our road plans. If
Yeah.
you guys are, you know, there's some other roads that they would like their road to be chip and sealed also. So that would be something we would look into in the future.
Yeah, there was a prospect a few years ago with the industrial park that didn't end up coming here, but that was the thing that they were.
They didn't have that
It
cut
came up
through.
in the conversation about that we could come up Lincoln off the highway and avoid the railroad tracks and all,
Right.
and get to the industrial park. So it's semi-traffic and stuff. So that's what brought on my radar. And so I've driven it several times. There's a lot there to do.
Yes, there is. I mean, it's a complete rebuild and
Yeah.
ditch it and do everything. and-
Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any questions about that? Any more about the roads or about the project? We do have, I believe it's next week, we have another bid opening. It would be on repairs that are at Independence Creek by Services Quarry to get the wall that was guardrail that was knocked down in a collision. So some deck repair, so that will be going on here before long. And we'll ask everybody for patience again when we find the dates, because River Road is going to be closed. There will be no way to get through while this project is being completed. But the deck is coming apart also, so we're gonna when we get the bids back, look at them and see if it's in my budget to get that also accomplished.
Is it possible to do some signage up in Donovan County?
We usually do, and
Okay,
then I
good.
contact Donovan County's
Good.
Road and Bridge or
Right.
contact. I talk to up there and let them know, just like I did. I contacted Leavenworth County on 206 to say, hey, there's gonna be more traffic because we're closing the road here. So if you get calls, that's why. So yeah, I work with the other counties.
Collision offer insurance, this is.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And then will the bridge work affect the quarries? Will River Road on our side, on Atchison, still be accessible
Yes.
to the quarry?
yes.
Okay, so
yes.
that won't.
The
shut down
quarry
any
will not be
operation.
shut down, though. They'll just have to go around.
Perfect, okay. Those are my
And
only two
we
questions.
will contact the quarry also,
Okay.
so they can contact other people.
Awesome,
So there's a lot of the Donovan County that goes
Yeah,
that way.
absolutely.
There's a
know.
lot of traffic.
Yeah, so that's where we are there. So now I have I'll explain this a little bit. We're going to I would like to replace one tractor with another. We've had some issues with the New Holland tractor to the point where it's a lot of expense. And we're planning on selling it. And I have been in contact with John Deere. It's a 2007 John Deere 6430 premium. It has 3,550 hours or something like that as a loader. I've driven it. I think it's a good purchase. It's $77,500. The money will come out of special machinery. And I'm just looking for the approval of that purchase.
Need you go through a big process to do this, or you think just outright?
Just outright.
Okay.
And then we will sell the other tractor through a what do you call that? Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, you're.
Commission.
Commissioned through New Holland.
And it's valued close to the same.
Yes, close to the same, yes. But on the trade-in allowance, I didn't feel like we were getting our money's worth.
So money wise,
Money wise could be $20,000 difference.
yeah, not a big difference.
Look for a motion to approve purchase order to Heritage Tractor in the amount of $77,500. As presented from the Road and Bridge Director for a 2007 John Deere 6430 premium.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
And is any questions or anybody have anything for me?
No, sir.
I
Uh,
did like seeing the presentation by School District 377 on your
That was awesome.
appreciation
Oh,
for
yeah.
the school snow removal
Well,
on
it's,
behalf of the bus drivers,
It's
and
very nice.
that goes a long ways to show that.
and it was very nice. Our guys, it makes them feel appreciated. You know, this weekend's the first weekend they've had off in a month, basically a month. Some of them. So we've worked very, very hard. They're working out there right now in roads that are hard to work on at this time until they dry out. And I work on about a daily basis with Dwight. We're trying to get a hold of Jefferson County today to make sure we get their route, because we want to help them also. But it was very nice of USD 377 to bring lunch out to the guys and cookies and pop, and I got everybody in there, and everybody was there. I think we were short 3 guys. So it makes me feel good, and them also, that we are appreciated.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
well,
Okay.
thank you, and
Thank you.
we have a good day.
Thank you. You too. We good moving an executive session up if Pat can do it. We have time for the 30-minute one. To get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Henderson, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. you're good.
You got it written down.
That. The one down at the bottom, very bottom, very bottom.
Finance.
Hmm?
Oh, wait.
On,
Going down to-
yeah,
Oh,
that
going
one.
down this.
Yeah, because that one's just with us and him and Pat, are you on here? Pat is. I know, I don't know if you can hear me.
It looks like he unmuted. No, I was just letting you know he is, but it looks like he unmuted.
Is this the 30-minute?
And that'll put us right on time for Mr. Luke.
Texting.
So it'd be attorney-client.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
3
County
commissioners.
counselor and finance.
Oh, here. I'm switching the computers because we can't hear him.
Okay.
But this was not HR, correct?
Right. Yeah, no, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, well, no, I just, I said, come in, to make sure that,
Thank you.
that I had the right one and, you need to waste any time.
I'll be back in.
All right,
Thank you.
So he's switching computers.
He said he's switching computers because you can't hear.
So
So I try and get up with it for you.
Are you good if I dwindle that back to 28 minutes or whatever, so we stay on time with Mr. Luke? Depending on, I wanna,
Yeah.
we just had a half-hour break, so I'm like, we might as well move that up.
Yeah, make it 25, we're thinking.
Yep.
I bet
or we can just say exactly coming out at
11.
11.
There we go.
See him.
Oh, there he is. Can you hear us, Pat?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
I was
All
on
right.
my other computer and I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, so.
Okay.
So I switched to my laptop.
I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 10:31 a.m. for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session at 11 a.m. in the commission room, courthouse basement, and those present will be the three commissioners, finance director, and county counselor.
So move. A second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0.
Oh,
All right, we are back in open session now. It's 11 a.m. and we're welcoming David Luke with K.S.A. Hi, how are you? Come on up. Yeah, I'm Casey.
Hi, Casey.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Eric,
Eric, good to see you. We've met before. Oh, yeah.
Eleanor, I don't think you met.
No,
Nice
good
to
to
meet you.
meet you.
And our finance director, Mark Seltzer.
Yeah, hi, Mark. Good to see you.
Haley,
I
our
already
lunches.
met him.
Okay,
We
great.
did.
I met him upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's just some.
thanks for coming.
That's it.
Thank you.
You know, one of these might actually have some notes on it. So it's probably good.
Thanks.
Nothing, can't see. Kaylee, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, there we go. All right. Well, I think so I think we're going to talk about the renewal a little bit. 2024 renewal.
Absolutely.
So I thought I'd give just a little backdrop. I just presented at KLPG, the Kansas Legislative Policy Group, which does some lobbying for Kansas rural counties, and kind of went over with them some of the same information. But the insurance market today is very similar to the market in 1991 when we were created. What we're seeing is, and it's mostly, liability has been an issue, but property as well, and it's probably more driven by the property right now. So, when we were formed in 91, what was happening was counties were getting non-renewed for coverage. They were also getting like 300% increases if they were kept. And it was just untenable. And so through the K.S.A, counties came together and said, let's get some legislation passed. We think we could do this better ourselves. And that's what led to the formation of the pool. And we had 37 counties originally, and we're now up to 78. And that growth has just been very steady, consistent over that time. We actually added our first 10 cities as well. And And really the hallmark of the pool, I would say, are two things. One is, probably three. One is rate stability. If you look at our rates over time, we didn't do a rate increase for 15 years, like 2005 to like 2016. We were not raising rates. 2017 maybe. And then we had our worst loss years on record in 17, 18, and 19. And so we sort of did some smaller rate increases, and then we had our large one this last year. So what's driving that? Kind of wanted to get into that. I did put some background information on the pool here. Again, we're formed as an interlocal. We are regulated by the insurance department. We file our rates with them. I submit quarterly financial statements to them. I put a slide there on page 4 about, when pools were kind of formed out of that commercial insurance crisis I was mentioning, but it was more than just a year or two. It lasted several years, and pools really have become the norm. It's 80% of public entities are in a pool around the country. And, why is that? Again, it's really the rate stability and then the services that the pools provide. Our coverage, I would say, is also superior. I mean, you're going to get higher limits, typically lower deductibles, and coverage that's really tailored for county risk. When I go into bid a county, we provide, for example, $3 million of liability limit outside of the K.S.A. tort cap of $500,000. When I go into bid a county, almost every time it's $500,000 of coverage, it's $1 million of coverage. Maybe they've got $1 million umbrella, so they've got $2 million. So we're providing an extra $1 million or more liability protection. So we really are giving better coverage. We're giving a ton of services, some of which I'll touch on today. And we're doing it at a lower price, which honestly, I've worked with pools around the country in my prior life, and that's usually not the narrative. Usually the narrative is the pool provides better protection, provides these services, but we're 3 or 4% more in cost because of the services we do provide. And there's a cost to those, but we think they're really helpful to the member to get your losses down. But in Kansas, it isn't true. I've been bidding counties for 10 years. We've added 18 counties in that time, 10 cities, and we have never been not less money. We're always lower in cost, even with the higher limits, lower deductibles, additional services. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is, we're small staffed, we're efficient. We don't have shareholders we're trying to get a profit to. We're happy to build surplus, but that's for the members' surplus, and we're not trying to get a dividend out to shareholders. If we pay a dividend, it goes to our members. We work direct with our members, so we don't work through agents, so there's no commission put in there. So all of those things, I think, help to get you to a lower cost. You can see the member map is on slide 8. The shaded counties are the K.S.A. members. Atchison, you've been with us since 2002. You can see the membership growth there on slide 9. We were talking about this yesterday in our staff meeting. Our underwriter comes from the commercial market. I said to him, what's the standard for when you work for a commercial insurance carrier? What's the expectation for how much business you retain? And he said, any year we just wanted to keep 80% of our insurance, 80% in a year, right? I said, since 2014, there have only been 3 counties who have not stayed with us. 3 counties in 10 years. You go, well, for us to be at an 80% retention, that would mean we'd lose 15 counties a year. We'd try to scramble to pick up 15 more counties, right? That just shows, we have that member loyalty because of the rate stability, because of the coverage, superior coverage, because of the services. We are directed by our member board. So our board is made up of elected officials just like you. We have 3 commissioners, 3 clerks, and a sheriff that are on the board. And as staff, we take our direction from them. They approve the coverage every year. They approve the rates every year. The staff is listed there on slide 12. We're all located in Topeka. And then I just listed out the lines of coverage for you on the liability. Again, we do provide $3 million limit on liability if it's outside the Tort Claim Act, which limits your liability to $500,000. We then provide $500,000 of defense costs outside that limit. So with a lot of carriers, you get, if they're giving you $2 million of coverage, a lot of times the defense costs are in that limit. So if they spend $500,000, now you only have $1.5 million to pay a claim. So that's why we provide those defense costs outside of that. On the property side, we have all risk coverage, replacement costs on your buildings and contents. Probably one of the biggest advantages of being in K-Camp is when you add vehicles and equipment during the year, and I think that's you doing that now, right? Yeah, Mark. So, and when you do that, there's no charge. So if Mark adds a vehicle in March, we're not collecting contribution from March to December. And that really is advantageous because he probably dropped off a vehicle too, but he dropped off an older vehicle, added a newer vehicle, and there should be some contribution there that we should collect. But the way we look at it is it's paperwork, right? We'd have to do an audit at the end of the year, and that's what an insurance carrier would do. But we just figure it's not worth the staff's time, your staff's time, to have to go through that audit process and then just for us to collect more contribution. And so that we just pick it up the following year. Okay, so our risk financing structure is on the next 2 pages. And you would have a structure like this with an insurance company, but they don't show it to you because they don't have to. So because we're a pool, we're a public entity, you're a member, we like to show this. If you look at that blue strip down at the bottom, when we talk about the pool, that's it. So, agents a lot of times will use kind of scare tactics, go, well, the pools are risky. You're taking on all that risk. You got hundreds of millions of dollars of buildings. It's true. We do have hundreds. We actually have over $1 billion in buildings, over $2 billion in building values. But we as the pool, the members, are not assuming all that risk. So you are only retaining as a pool with your other counties, $350,000 for each occurrence. Above that, we're transferring that risk. First to the CRL, County Reinsurance Limited, which is a pool of pools. It's a pool of county pools from around the country. And then the Lloyd's and Bermuda markets above that. And so the risk is very manageable, right? Because it's just that 350,000. And so when we collect a contribution, we're collecting what our actuary is projecting for losses in that layer. We're collecting for the reinsurance costs, and then we're collecting to pay our staff to keep the lights on. What's driving the losses today is the reinsurance. So it's these top layers when we're transferring the risk. There's a couple reasons for that. One is we've had large losses. So we've hit our individual reinsurers a bit with typically wind hail type losses. But they are insuring other risks, right, around the globe. And they've been hit by a lot of catastrophic losses.
Watch the news.
Right? Yeah. And what's interesting, Tornado Alley sure seems to be moving over, right? So it used to be Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, right? And now it seems to be like Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, it's very odd. And so I think that's a lot of what's scaring the market is these unexpected kind of losses. And I've got some data I want to show you. On the liability, same type of structure, you're retaining the first $500,000 as a pool. And that's the risk you're sharing with the other counties. That's, again, where we project the losses for our pool. We collect for that, and then we collect for our reinsurance above that, and then what our admin costs are. Our admin costs, by the way, very low. Typically, you would see 20 to 26% of the contribution would go toward administrative costs. Ours is around 18, 19. So we're actually below what the norm is. So talking about those losses, I put this slide in. It has the multicolored graph, if you're on that page. It's not numbered, unfortunately. It's slide 19. The reason I included this, if you look at those losses, right? The first thing that hits you is, wow, in the early 80s, we weren't spending as much on losses. And we're spending more today. But the other thing I want to point you to is the green. Do you see how the green sort of starts to take over in the later bars, in the more recent years? That green is the wind hail. And so, you know, historically, I think we all have kind of had that impression like, well, if the reinsurance market is getting difficult, it's because of those darn people in Florida or California. It's the earthquakes, it's the hurricanes. Historically, that was true. That was accurate. Today, it's not. So today, as you can see in all these more recent years, the reinsurers are taking hits on wind and hail to a level they haven't before. And then their total losses, I mean, $100 billion loss year used to be a big deal. Now that's an annual occurrence. And so the reinsurance market is doing a couple of things. One is many of them pulled out. A lot of reinsurers are just gone. Others have raised their prices substantially. And the third thing they'll do is they'll start dictating coverage terms. So they'll say, you have to, you know, we'll no longer cover this, or you have to put this coverage restriction in place if you want our reinsurance. And so all of that is occurring in part because of the catastrophic losses we're seeing, you know, globally. All right, then let's look at K.Camp individually as a pool. We've incurred over 25 million in damage to building, contents, vehicles, property, and the open and mobile equipment since 1998. That's an average cost to the pool of over $1 million each year. So that's 1 out of every $5 of our member losses, both property and liability, is just for those losses. And I'm talking about storm losses. So it's that specific. The other thing that's happened that we've noticed when we look at our data is those storm losses, they were always May, June, right? July, if we had a bad year. And then typically rest of the year, we're good. We don't see a lot of property losses. You know, the deer hits in November, but you know, that's not going to sink us. But now we're getting convective storm losses in October and even December. And that's just been unheard of. So what we're seeing is the frequency, the timing, and the severity of these losses are all increasing. And so on the next slide, you'll see the 3, and I did a 3-year rolling average because typically when you roll it, you just, you know, you add a year, you take one off, it smooths it out, right? And you can see it still isn't a very smooth line, is it? And the trend just continues to increase. So the 3-year rolling average on the claim count has gone up significantly. And some of that is member growth, you know, but not to this degree, right?
And the claim count would be vertical column. What's the?
So this is the claim count here. So this would be 35. So this would be, it's on the 40 line.
In 40,000 claims, 40
claims.
40
claims.
Yep.
40 claims. Yep. Good question. In the most recent 3-year period. And then when you look at the dollars, the severity, again, tried to smooth it out with a 3-year rolling average. And you can see what it's doing. And it's very similar to those catastrophic losses we're looking at nationally, right? I mean, how it spiked just in those last few years. And that's what's happened with K.Camp as well. So, and then when we look at Atchison County, I just wanted to provide you your loss risk because Mark made the point, one of his emails, you know, your individual loss does affect you somewhat. Now we don't experience rate your property, but we do experience rate other lines like your auto. And so your loss ratio by year is shown there. And basically, you know, if it's, let's just take the 2019 year. And I said that was one of our bad years, you know, overall, you're at 132%. That means for every dollar we collected from you, we paid out $1.32. Same with the next year, 2020, for every dollar we collected, we paid $1.43. Now 2021 and 22 were great years. But then 23 again, we're over that 100%. And we actually need that loss ratio to be at 65% or below for you to be profitable to the pool. Because we have to pay not just the losses, right? But we have to pay those reinsurance costs and the admin costs. So when your loss ratio is over 65%, it's really costing the pool. And you're at 82 over that 5-year period. Okay, so what else is driving the market right now? Valuations. So every year we adjust your property values based on what we call Marshall and Swift factors. So if just to account for inflation, the first 6, 7 years I was with K.S.A. and even for years before that with when I worked with other pools, those off-year adjustments were 1 to 3%, right, for inflation costs, materials, labor, because we charge you based on what your valuation is, kind of like you do with your property tax, and we say, well, what's the cost to reconstruct this courthouse? And then we have to adjust that value each year for inflation. So we use those trend factors, and typically they were, like I said, 1 to 3%. And then we had COVID, and things went crazy. And so we had like a 12%, we had 8%, we had 6%. Those were numbers that in my career, I've been doing this 30 years, I had never seen. We had never had to increase a member's valuations by that, But it's the reality. I mean, it really is costing that much to rebuild. So that drives your contribution. That's not a rate increase. It's just an exposure increase, and that your rate gets applied to. And that has affected your contribution. Now, you can underreport, but that just gets you in trouble, right, with the reinsurance market. If they pay a loss and they find out you were reporting half your valuations, it's not going to be. So we got to keep those values current to give them confidence in what they're covering. So you can see from this next slide that the increase just in construction materials from 2010 to current, 79% increase. You look at the labor costs, and that has spiked again post-COVID. So that's impacted our valuations that we have to report. We then also do appraisals of your property every 4 years. And I'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute here. So I guess what the message I'm trying to send is this is not just a Atchison County specific contribution increase. It's not even a K-Camp specific contribution increase. In fact, I will tell you, our projections for the pool layer are spot on. And we are not really increasing rates at all to account for losses within the pool layer. We are really just increasing the rates because of valuations and because of the reinsurance premiums. Our reinsurance premiums went up something like 83% last year. And we don't expect that to repeat this next year, which is good. But we do think that's the new normal. In other words, they're not going to give us a 50% decrease next year. So that means our member contribution probably isn't going to go down, right? Because valuations aren't going to go down either. Reinsurance isn't going to go down, but we don't think it will spike again, at least at this point. So how have we responded to all of this? Well, anytime losses are more frequent and more severe, it typically means we got to take on more risk, right? So K-Camp used to be at a $250,000 retention per property. We had to increase that by $100,000 this last year, as required by the reinsurer. They didn't give us a choice. So the pool got larger in terms of what we share as risk. The expectation was they wanted our members to take on more risk, because the reinsurers, again, are taking all these losses, and they're saying, we want the members to have to take on some of this as well. They wanted us to put a 1% per location deductible on your buildings on property. So that would mean, I don't remember the valuation of the courthouse, but let's say it's 10 million. That would mean they want you to take a $100,000 deductible per location. And then if the building down the street, it's 5 million, $50,000 deductible. So if one storm came through, you'd get 1%, 1%, 1% for every building, plus your vehicles and your mobile equipment. I talked over at the board. I just said, look, I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't think, and our board wasn't either. You know, we feel like, yeah, we can have a member who will have a wind hail loss, right? And it'll be $1 million. We've had it, as I've shown you. But the other 77 counties don't have it that year. So why am I going to apply a 1% per location deductible to every member and ask them to take on all that risk when they don't have those losses? So what we decided to do was absorb the difference. And this is, again, we're different from commercial insurance, right? We want to buffer the impact of all these market changes. We want to buffer you from that exposure. So one of the reasons the contribution also went up was because we have to fund for the whole pool, for all the counties, the difference between that member deductible and that 1%. So what we gave you was, you were at I think what, $1,000 property deductible. We raised that to $5,000 for all other perils. And then we put on a $10,000 wind hail. But that's per occurrence, not per building, right? So if you have a wind hail storm come through and it hits 10 buildings, you're just paying that $10,000 for those buildings. The reinsurer is going to come to us and say, it's 1% per building. The pool will cover that. It will not impact Atchison County. And that, again, is, I think, an advantage of being in a pool, because the board are members just like you, and they're saying, we don't want to pass that cost on. How can we share that risk together? The other thing they mandated in terms of coverage was a margin clause. And this stems from those losses we talked about that you were seeing and the increase in valuations. What was happening is a lot of public entities around the country were not either appraising, or they weren't keeping those values current in off years. And so when the reinsurers went to pay those losses in Kentucky, Tennessee, and other places, they went, wait a second, we were collecting premium on $1 million building that's worth $20 million to rebuild. This isn't right, right? So what they're saying now is, we'll cover you for that loss to that building, but up to 125% of its reported value. Now, we're okay with that because we are really good about appraising our locations. We appraise every 4 years, as I said, and that's built into your contribution. You'll pay extra for that. And then we do those off-year adjustments. So we're pretty confident in those valuations. But the board decided to take this a step further this next year. And for each of the next appraisals over the next 4 years, we're going to appraise every location. So if we have a $90,000, because we only appraise locations of 100,000 or more, the board said, we could have a $90,000 building we've never appraised, and it could be worth $350,000. And that isn't going to all be covered then per our required margin clause. And we don't want that to happen. So we're going to appraise everything. And we think also that will give a lot more confidence to the reinsurance market. So when they are writing K-Camp, they'll say, hey, you're looking at everything that, having an independent appraiser come in and give us that report, they'll have more confidence in the numbers we're giving them. And we think that'll help us with pricing.
I've got a question. Where does when you get into a historical building and it's part of that, where does that kick in? Because
great question.
If the building was worth $10 million, but you could go in there and if you had damage and just work on it, the most economical would be a lot different than if you have to come up to the historical standard.
Exactly right. So every time we do the appraisals, we send you guys a letter and we point this out.
Okay.
Because we have this is one of the most beautiful courthouses. And I don't know what your position is as commissioners or how your constituents feel, but I would imagine there are some who would say, we want it to look just like this, and there's some who will go, no, we work in it. We don't want it to be
tear it down, build a new.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
always those people.
right. Yeah. So you get both. And I don't want to presume. So what we say is we can appraise it at historical reproduction, which would replace the iron railings and the marble and the things that give it that unique historical character. But we'll do that. We'll appraise it at that value, but the contribution will be much higher, obviously, because the valuation then goes up. So the coverage you have now is replacement cost. So you would get a modern office building. And the example I always give is you want to Google the Bismarck State Capitol. It used to look like the Capitol we got in Topeka. It's now a high-rise commercial looking building, glass windows. Because they probably didn't have a reproduction cost and they didn't want to assess the taxpayers and build something back to what it was. So that it's just a decision you all can make. But the advantage is, you can get that when the appraisers come out, you can say, give us a historical valuation for this building and we'll compare. And then you can call me or Bob, our underwriter, and say, okay, how much to appraise or how much to insure at the higher value. And then you can just make a decision what you want to do. What is the preference? I'm just curious.
What's what?
What would be the preference? Would be,
Oh, I think it's historical here.
I mean, do you think you'd want to rebuild something that looks like?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm just saying as far as what the preference would be, I think heavily on preserving the courthouse.
Yeah.
Because if it's like gonna cost us $50 million,
Won't be that much.
I don't think the taxpayers are gonna go for that.
Yeah, right. It's,
Right, I mean, that's, it's kind of a tough call. If you had to replace the building, I don't think you could really make the case that we're gonna reproduce this same building because. But if you get into a 30% damage so that you're gonna, that's where your dilemma is. I mean, I think you could make the case for just going with the base value without the historical. If you knew you were gonna have 100% loss, but
yeah, it's a,
And I don't want to speak on behalf of my constituents because I haven't asked them, but in my head, it's like they value the historic, but you're never gonna have that historic recreated, right? So it would be devastating to lose such a structure in our county, but also like it doesn't make sense to, I mean, other than this lightning strike, we haven't had one for how long, right? Like, so why overpay for taxpayer money for years with the what ifs? I mean, it would just be something you'd have to grieve as a community, like we lost this great gem, but I don't feel like we should try to replicate something because it would never be the same, right?
it wouldn't be the same, and
I mean-
then we would still have all of the growth problems in the
Yeah.
different, we've been trying to work around.
Right.
So, I mean,
We
yes,
value it
I
today,
value the
but-
historical,
Yeah.
but at what point, that would be a judgment call. I hope I don't have to make.
The decision point at this time is more about how much to insure for. I think
Yeah.
we just have to balance the value with the
the
coverage
cost.
we need,
Yeah. So feel free, like I said, when the appraiser comes out to just say, on the courthouse, give us a historical reproduction value and we'll decide.
When was our last appraisal?
I have to look that up. I was afraid you were gonna ask. I think I can access it quickly. I can't on my phone. But I can email you
Okay.
and just let you know. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Is the bulk of your claims though, are pretty much wind, hail and lightning? I mean, that, and mostly roofs and windows, is that?
The large dollar ones, yes.
Okay.
On the
so-
property side, yeah.
Okay,
That's what's hitting us and that's what's hitting the reinsurers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, Doniphan, I think, had to have a new roof within the last 5-6 years. That's where we live. It's part of it. So. And again, unlike the commercial market, we're not scared off. I just talked to a county, where Great Bend is, who, I don't know if you read in the paper, they got non-renewed by their commercial carrier this year. And they had to scramble and we didn't know about it. But I called the administrator and we're going to meet. I said, just call us. I mean, this is again, why we were created, but they got non-renewed because they had large losses. We've added, just in 2024, just in the last 12 months, we've added Rooks County, Butler County, Graham County, and Unified Greeley County. In one case, we saved the county $120,000. A couple of those counties had 1% for location deductibles that I talked about. In one case, they were moving it to a 3% evaluation for location deductible. So we're able to spare them that. So it is a difficult market right now. And again, our role is to try to shield you from a lot of these and the impact of these. So the other thing, so we're going to appraise all locations instead of just those over 100,000. We did implement the margin clause, but we're absorbing that 1% deductible. You still have a 10,000 per occurrence. Or you still have a per occurrence, it just moves to 10,000. And then the last thing I want to mention is we've rolled out a program on roof maintenance. Because to your point, most of these are, wind, hail, and where does that happen on a building? It's to the roofs.
So.
Mhm.
I could say this or ask now, but you can answer later if you want. So one of the questions I would have is, I see your responses there, but what about the, what's it called, your green line down there, the base?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, which one
So
was
there's
green?
been- If that was, if the pool was increased, say to 500,000 there,
Mhm.
they would have to lower your premiums for the secondary carriers above there. No?
No, I mean, it's that kind of market where
So what about
they're
the million?
restricting
What about the
coverage,
million?
they're raising deductibles, and they're increasing pricing. So
I guess
that's,
my point is if the pool was bigger, we have more cash in reserve,
yeah,
this K.S.A. At what point does that actually mitigate some of those hits higher up? I mean, how much is it low level? That's what
great
it is.
point. Yeah, they need to see that. So and we think they will, right? So as we now, you're taking more risk, where the pool's taking more risk, we think that will mitigate some of the losses that are hitting their layer. But when you think about it, I mean, I'm saying we have $1 million loss every year, right? That's wind, hail. That $1 million is still blowing through 350,000 retention. It's still hitting the reinsurance. So the goal, and that's where I was going with this risk management program, is to try to mitigate some of these losses from even happening.
Right.
And I think we can do it. And the reason I say that is our adjuster, James Gambrell, on the property side, he's up on these roofs all the time. And what he's seeing are roofs that are very much neglected. There's not preventive maintenance going on. And nobody's at fault for that. I mean, all the counties have building maintenance people. They can't, it might be a timing issue. They may not have time to get up. There's some roofs I probably wouldn't want them on, right? So
There's a loss issue.
yeah, we got other issues then, right? Yeah. So but nonetheless, we've got to maintain these roofs. And what we're seeing is like on a flat roof, there'll be leaves from the last 3 years that have accumulated, right? And they're blocking drains, and then the water just stands, and then things deteriorate, right? And it's bad in some cases. And so what we need to do is have somebody up on those roofs on a regular basis, doing maintenance on them, doing minor repairs. And even if it's a new roof, I mean, get somebody on there starting now. And
So we fly a drone over all our roofs every year
well,
for, to see like where you're talking about debris on our flat roofs, because a lot of them are pretty high.
pretty high.
So we drop a drone to check that, and then we actually physically walk the flat to check.
To check those. I mean, that is an option. We did contract with this Stanfield Roofing. So another option is to contract it out. And because I worry about our employees being up on these things, and so,
You're contracting it, or are you saving on your insurance?
I think you will ultimately, because I think what will happen is, because we just had this with, it was actually one of our board members' counties. There's a wind hail loss. And we had somebody go out and inspect right away. And the roof had just never been maintained. And the inspector actually said, he goes, had you guys maintained this, there would have been no water intrusion, you would have had a loss. And so that's what we're trying to get to is, and it's, if it was just every now and then we ran into a roof, we'd say, well, it just happens, but we're seeing it systemically across counties. And I get it. I mean, budgets are tight, right? And so who wants to spend the time and the money to do it? But again, it's that balance. You say, well, if we spend a little bit on the front end maintaining these, and then we never have a loss, that's really going to affect our contribution. And we really come out ahead on that deal. And I think you will. So I mean, not that a drone, you could definitely do a drone. You definitely.
If we do those inspections, do we need to send you documentation that we do them? Does that help us?
Yeah, I mean, the question's been asked, will we give a credit for if you do them? And we don't rate that way. And part of that is we want to keep the rating simple. Because if you think about it, there's all kinds of things you can do, right? To mitigate, I mean, sprinklers in buildings, smoke detectors, grill guards on vehicles. I mean, we can go on and on of things, and those things really help, right? You hit a deer with a grill guard, we pay $2,000. You don't have the grill guard, it's $8,000. I mean, and then you multiply that over all our vehicles in all our counties, it's a lot of money. So shouldn't we give a credit? And we don't. well, so we do two things. One is we have the risk avoidance grant. So you can use that money for things. So if the inspector finds something and says, you got to do this repair, you can use the risk avoidance grant for that. That's $2,000 a year. The other thing is we have the Risk Management Achievement Awards, and which you all participate in every year, and we give you money back for doing certain risk management things that are reducing losses, and we'll be adding this program as one of the criteria. So if counties are doing it, they're going to get, and they submit the paperwork, they can get credit back, 1 to 6% of your contribution back at the end of the year. So rather than doing it on the rating side, we do it as an incentive program, if that makes sense. And then the deductibles I put on here, that is another response, right? We increase the member deductibles.
So what were those before?
So you had 1,000 on the vehicles, mobile equipment being your heavy equipment. So your road graders and things like that. Wind, hail, 10,000, but again, that's per occurrence.
What was it before?
It was just your standard
Same
deductible.
thing.
Yeah. It was, I think, 1,000 last year.
Oh, okay.
So we raised your AOP, all other perils, to 5,000 and then applied a 10,000 wind hail. Yeah. So if the building burned down, it's 5,000. If it was a wind hail event, it's 10,000. Okay. And then we did the margin clause, which again puts it at 125% of the reported value. And then I threw in an example on the next slide in a table so you could see what we mean by the margin clause. So if you reported $1 million building, the loss was 1,250,000. There's no shortfall, right? You're covered for the full loss. If it was 3 million, there's a $50,000 shortfall. If the third building damaged in that event was 1,350,000, there's a 100,000 shortfall. So the total shortfall would be the 150. Again, because we're appraising and now we're doing all locations and then we're doing the off year trending, you know, we don't have a huge concern. But we do want to point that out. And then, so let's get into this roof maintenance program a little bit more. This is some of the data we've collected on this. So, you know, if you early identify, a roof can leak for days, weeks, months before the evidence is even noticed. The cost to repair damage averages 25% per square foot of a roof area, but addressing it earlier can lower the cost by up to 10 cents per square. And then, you know, there's the shortening of the lifespan of the roof. So you're paying for a roof and you think, oh, I got a 30-year warranty, you know, it's a 30-year roof. It's really going to only be a 15-year roof if you're not maintaining it, right? So you're not really getting the value of what you paid for. The 10 common failures are on the next slide. Just to give you an idea of what would be included in this. They look at flashing, they look at seams, they look for blistering or cracks, they look for ponding and debris. Debris, again, that might be covering drains, the scuppers. And so they're looking at all of these things when they do an inspection. And these guys are trained to look for this kind of stuff. Not all county maintenance folks, I mean, they can be incredible at a lot of things, but they may not be roof experts, right? They may not be able to identify all the issues. So that's another advantage to maybe contracting out. So we got with Stanfield Roofing. They were already being used by a couple of our counties. Morton County is one of them. And they'll do 2 inspections a year. So they'll come out in the spring, they'll come out in the fall. They will do debris removal, they'll clean gutters, clean around the drains, check the sump pumps. They will prepare a report for you, with photos, documenting the condition of each roof, documenting exactly what work they did. If there are minor repairs, they'll just take care of them. And then if there's major repairs, they'll recommend those. And then you can use them to make those repairs, or you can hire your own contractor. You don't have to use them. No obligation there. And we were able to negotiate a 40% discount with them on those inspections.
They're based out of?
They're out of El Dorado. El Dorado. And again, you can use your own firm, but we just want, again, we try to make it easy on the members and we try to leverage the power of our group purchasing when we You know, another example of that is we just contracted with Know Before, who does cyber training. And we can't pay for that, but we negotiated a significant discount. You want to use that to train your employees. Really quick, I also just wanted to hit on, oh, I did include the budget letter that we gave you back in June. We projected a 25% increase this year, and you came in at 25.17. And, you know, I point that out because, you know, we're aware when you're doing your budgeting, and we'd love to get it to you in May, but our actuary is only comfortable projecting so far out, right? So we were able to get our actuary to say, yeah, I'll get you a projection in early June. And then that way we can, you know, we can telegraph that to our members. Here's what you need to put in your budget. I don't think there's an insurance company out there that would give you a projection 6 months ahead of your renewal. I don't think they exist. And so again, another advantage of being in our program, we know our members' situation. We know you've got to get that budget down. You need a reliable member. We work hard to get that to you ahead of time. I included this risk management utilization report. You know, we provide a lot of risk management services, and these are just a few, but attorney assist through Fulton Sifkin out of Wichita. You can call them for anything, any legal questions. So if you have a CORA or COMA question, if you have a wage and hour question, if you have questions, you know, we always say if you're going to take some adverse employment action, it's good to call them first. And you've utilized that service over the years. We have the legal-based jail guidelines to assist your jail staff with complying with state and federal law. And you've implemented that. We have the LLRMI, Law Enforcement Policies and Procedures Online University, which has hundreds of courses in you know, road and bridge, employment, law enforcement. And then the risk avoidance grant, and one of you has my notes because I wasn't careful about who I handed out to, but there you go. And it just writes, it just writes what you've used it for. So in 2020 was an I'll give this back to you, electrostatic sprayer for disinfecting the nursing home. 2021 was security cameras for the senior village. 2022 was our road and bridge tarps, mud flaps, stay back signs for those equipment. And then security cameras for the courthouse. So you've done a great job of utilizing that grant each of the years. And then the risk management awards we talked about. You're one of, I think, 9 counties. So we have 78 counties, only 9 are taking advantage of it. Your staff do a great job of collecting the information. They let us know, hey, we've done these risk management committees. Here are meeting minutes. Here are the trainings we've done during the year. Here are the policies that we adopted, that kind of thing. And when you submit that documentation, we calculate the award, and again, you've gotten back over $10,000 in the last 4 years. We have the Road Scholar Tuition Reimbursement Program. So if you're sending your road and bridge folks to that through, I think that's LTAP, we reimburse for that. And then we have what used to be called Think HR. They now call it Mineral, but gives you access to HR consulting. Between 8 and 5 every day. That builds up the employee handbook, model policies, best practice recommendations, etc. Online training there as well for your supervisors and employees. So a lot of services that we think, you know, as members utilize them, as you have been, it really does help mitigate those losses. So yeah, I mean, it's always tough talking about increases, and then again, we've been proud of the fact we haven't had to over the years, but reinsurance and the property valuations are really driving it right now. We're hoping that stabilizes here in 2020 for 2025. I think it was
A question for you.
Yeah.
So I am sure when you get done with your appraisals, you're gonna find out a lot of folks were underwater and well, appraisals will come up. I mean, you almost guarantee that.
Yeah, we'll probably find property that wasn't everything on the schedule. That's my guess. Yeah.
So as you create more equity that way and everybody's kind of on the same field, will that drive down some of the costs across the pool? Because some premiums are gonna have to go up. So in other words, if our stuff checks out, we're good.
Mhm.
But 40 counties or below.
Oh yeah.
then they bring it up, so will that help
That's
us?
true. They're gonna be paying more in contribution. And if I'm collecting more here, then I mean, there's some point to that, but
There's a certain
Yeah.
fairness to that. I mean.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. And you know, I mean, we like to think, it's kind of like anything, where we see it the most is when there's turnover. You get a new clerk who comes in. We'll get 5 new buildings and 15 new vehicles that were purchased 3 years ago,
Oh.
And part of that is you just get that new person coming in and they're looking at everything fresh. And so I don't think there's any bad faith there. I think it's just, we didn't know about it. And the reality is you're covered. I mean, if you didn't have that on there, we're not gonna not cover it. That's, if Mark doesn't have the vehicle until August and we purchased it in January, well, what if you had a loss in February? We would have covered it. You'd still been covered. It's just, we just want to, again, we're more concerned about reporting it to the higher ups, I'm sure they're confident in our data.
I have a couple questions. Of the 78 counties you currently insure,
Yeah.
how many of them sit at that 65% or below ratio?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would have to look at it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
Can you
think,
send us that when you
Sure.
send us the appraisal?
yeah.
Curious about that. Also on I know that I haven't had time to really review the bylaws, so maybe you can just kind of summarize the obligation of how K-Camp works for like RFPs. So if we do an RFP for 2025,
Yeah.
what does that timeline look like for you? And then also if we choose to go with a different carrier, because obviously, with county budgets, a 20 to 25% increase is hard to sustain. So we need to do our due diligence of going out and making sure that we're making the best decisions for our constituents. So if we were to go to a private insurance and then find the grass isn't always greener, or, look at something on a 3-year basis or something, is there an application process, or does K-Camp welcome members back that have left, or what does that look like? Have you
Sure.
had that happen?
Yeah, we do have counties bid. It's not as frequent as you would, expect, like in the commercial market. And I'm just trying to think on the top of my head. So we had like Bourbon County bid a couple of years ago, and they've been a member a long time. Agent didn't even show up with the bid, so we went through the whole process, and that's fine. That's the way it goes. Kingman did that one year where they bid it, agent didn't show up. They ended up bidding the next year and they didn't even want to bid from us. So, I think there was just again, they were one of the 3 counties over the last 10 years that didn't stay in the pool, I think. So they didn't buy in. But so it doesn't happen often where an existing member bids, and that's probably good for us because we're small staffed. But the process is this, and I'll get the question probably more than I get the bid. But they'll say, when do we need to do this? So your interlocal, the important provision there is November 1.
Okay.
So it doesn't say November 1. It says 60 days prior to your renewal. So we'll call that November 1.
Okay.
You need to give notice of withdrawal if you're going to leave the pool. And it's non-rescindable. So if you say we're leaving, then you're leaving.
Okay.
So the best time to do it, I would say August, start request, like late August, maybe early September. Start requesting bids. And we would just ask that you tell all the bidders they're due by this on the same date, and that you open the bids at a commission meeting, and everything's transparent.
Absolutely.
So, but it's not under the bid laws, so you don't even have to do an RFP. You can just say bid our property and liability coverage, or bid our work comp, and it's due on this date. And that's all we need. We send out our renewal questionnaire September 1st.
Okay.
So if you send us that notice in like end of August, early September, we do need that back then in order to get you the bid by whatever deadline you come up with. And I'm just going to rough this. I would say they're due like October 15th, because that would give you 2 commission meetings to evaluate.
Would June or July be too early?
I think not for us, but for the commercial market.
Okay.
Their carriers aren't going to bid more than 90 days out.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be able to do it, and they wouldn't be able to give you a reliable estimate. They'd probably give you what's called an indication, but it's not a quote. So.
And you talked about the withdrawal piece. So if we did decide and we withdraw, is there then if we say, okay, we're gonna do another RFP because we weren't happy with the private carrier or commercial carrier. Do we get welcomed back if we want, or is it like, oh, you left, like,
Well, so if you have them due October 15th. And you look at them and say, okay, there's a lot of information, we need another week to look at this, and then the next week you meet and then you vote. You're now ahead of November 1, and you can say, if you decided we're not doing K-Camp, we're gonna do this commercial bid. You would then send us your notice by November 1 saying we're withdrawing.
Mhm.
Okay. It's not gonna happen because we're gonna be last, we're in a better country. But if it did happen and then you left,
yep,
the next year, yes, you
we
could
can come
bid.
back.
Yeah, we're not gonna say, well, you. No.
Well, I was just curious how that
No,
works.
that would be fine.
Okay.
And you don't have a withdrawal issue to deal with then. So you could start that process in October or November.
If you left in good standing, you're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and it's pretty common for everyone to shop their insurance every few years, like just to make sure. I mean, we
There's-
can love one another, but it's like,
Right.
it's good practice.
We are
like,
not offended at all.
Make sure,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, make sure it's,
I mean, we love working with you. So,
Yeah.
there's that, but no, there's nothing wrong with getting bids and seeing where things are at. Yeah. So that's the timeline I'd recommend. And I would just calendar that. Yeah.
These programs, so I know this one says it's an annual cost.
Oh,
Are the
yeah.
rest of these no cost? I mean, it's not clear what we pay for, but if they don't pay for, it's included.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So,
I'm trying to figure it out.
yeah, you guys are all over this.
I'm
So,
confused.
well, and I was,
It's easy.
had that same question with the Stanfield's roofing question of like, what are we, what
Yeah.
is paid?
so the Stanville roofing is you pay for that. We negotiated a group purchase discount. Same with like no before.
Okay.
Those are group purchase discounts.
No K-Camp money toward those folks for like a discount.
Correct. Now. Yeah, that's right. So but then these services, so we'll just go through them. Attorney assist, that's included in your contribution. There's no extra cost for that. Legal-based jail guidelines, they do have that implementation fee that we pay, and then they have a nominal cost.
So I don't know what implementation value means. What does that mean?
Well, that's what they would charge you. That's what they charge us. We pay.
So you do,
Translation.
So
mean?
when Atchison County told National Institute for Jail Operations, we want that program, implement it, put it on our computers, give us access to the service. And they did that. NIJO sent the invoice to us for that implementation fee. They do charge your sheriff a fee for ongoing, and it's nominal. I don't
$200 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have LLRMI, and honestly, I don't know if the sheriff's still using LLRMI, but he did implement it. Those, if you were to go out and buy like Lexipol or LLRMI or any of those model law enforcement policies and procedures, $20,000 to implement that for sure. And then there's typically an annual fee of about $5,000. With us, you don't, we pay the fee.
so all of these fees are within our premium.
Yeah, the only thing I have to caveat LLRMI with is they're supposed to be billing for the online subscription service that allows you to distribute those policies to your deputies, and that's like $12 per officer per year. What I'm hearing from our counties is they've never invoiced the counties for it. So, but that would be a fee in addition.
I don't know what the sheriff's using now.
I don't.
Okay.
I would have to ask him.
It
but
is
he's-
just curious. I didn't know if we're doing it or not.
Yeah, I mean, he did implement it like I said back in.
I saw that.
Yeah, but whether he's using it, I think we didn't see any activity in 2023, so that's why I'd have to check.
Yeah.
Yeah. Online U is included. The on-site training is included. The only exception to that would be, so we come out and do defensive driving. We'll do all your employees. We can do it over a period of days, however you want to do that. We have Forest Roads from Folston Sifkin will come out and do employment training, anti-discrimination, anti-harassment training. Typically what he'll do is he'll train your employees, send them out of the room, have the supervisors stay and do another half hour with just the supervisors. We cover the cost of that. The only thing he asked for is if the county would reimburse his travel, just mileage, and that's it. He's out of Wichita. The risk avoidance grant is, sorry, what?
And he uses a private jet.
Private jet, yeah, that's flies first class on, yeah.
First class pitched on it.
Yeah. The risk avoidance grant, that's just part of your contribution. Risk management awards, part of your contribution. Road scholar tuition reimbursement, part of your contribution. Mineral HR, part of your contribution. No additional costs for any of that. We also have been doing a lot of webinars lately for the members, and so I'm really proud of the staff for this. So we did a, you know, there was that there was that legislation last session on sexual abuse of minors. What they did was they extended the statute of limitations. So somebody can bring, you know, if you were abused at 15 or 10 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be, you know, within, I don't remember, it was within a few years of turning 18 or when you should have reasonably discovered. And then, I don't remember what that was civil, and then I don't know about the criminal. Now the statute says that you can bring a criminal prosecution anytime. So you could be abused, and they say, you know, most abuse victims don't really start to face it until they're in their 50s. So you could have somebody who was abused when they were 10 and now they're 50. So it's 40 years later. That person can, the perpetrator can be criminally prosecuted 40 years later. And then the civil extends off of that. So your civil liability is like, you know, decades. And so we did a training on that. We talked about what your coverage is on sexual abuse. And then we also talked about, we had a person on from a nonprofit who talked about within the counties, things you need to do, implement. You know, you should have a policy, you should have training and that sort of thing. And so that was all addressed. We've done First Amendment audits. We've done a webinar on that. Those people that show up with their cameras. We've done an employment one with Forest Roads. And so all of those are on our website. Every time we do a webinar, we email you all, let you know about it. But if you can't participate, it's logged on the website and you can just watch those anytime.
Did every county in the pool experience that increase from 20 to 25%?
Yes, on average, that was the increase. Some got more, some got a little less. But that was the average increase.
Thank you. I think you answered all the questions I had. Mark, did you have any questions? Do you guys have any other questions?
Good.
Okay. There was one of, I wrote down the counties at 65% or below. You wanted kind of a county count.
I was just curious how many of the 78 were under that 65%.
Yep, and I can get you that. And there was something earlier in our discussion though, and I said I can get that.
When our last appraisal was?
Thank you.
Yep.
I will email Mark that info. And then it's every 4, but I'll reference when we're going to do that again.
Okay. Awesome.
Good. Well, I really appreciate your time this morning, and if you ever need anything, feel free to give us a call.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah. Hey.
Thanks, you too. All right, Brian Oswald, Facilities and Maintenance Director, update on projects, timelines, and costs. Hi, Brian.
All right, of course, we've already started tearing out electrical up there. So we've moved them out of the appraisers and we've got them over at the clerk. So we have started this February 1st, which is Thursday, right? AT&T will be here to relocate their equipment. With the help of me and Scott with IT, they will be doing that for no charge.
Is it going to the vault?
Yes.
Yeah, I looked in
Downstairs, vault,
or downstairs.
down here. I looked in this morning, so I saw what was left. There's a lot of box around that for no bigger than it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's they have to have the 4x4 sheet of plywood, so it has to move that way. But they'll move the fiber optic for us for nothing. They're coming 7 o'clock on February 1st. Hopefully we get it back up and running by 8 o'clock. He seems to think he will. We've scheduled with Connie just in case for a 4 hour delay on them to get back up and running, but hopefully it's up before they even walk in the building. So
Okay.
should be doable. K.S.A. coring is coming. The scheduled date for them is February 19th because of it being a holiday. They can not charge us a Saturday fee and come in here and let the saw screen. So that's why it's coming a little bit later than what it like. February 20th.
Will you take another day off sometime for the holiday?
Yeah. The February 20th will be the Brooks plastering will come in, and then we hope to have it painted by the 26th. And then move back in. I got a date of March 6th.
Pretty quick.
I think so. I really, we've gone quite a ways up there right now, just getting it in there, so I don't think it'll take too much to get done. Money wise, the figures that we give you before, or that I give you, I think we'll be under. I know we'll be under, but I can't really say how much yet. Hopefully we don't find any more knob and tube. We did find some knob and tube in the flooring that should have been out years ago, but it is out now, so it kind of backed us down a little bit, but I don't think we'll find anything like that after that. I can't see where it's at unless it's just been there, but which could be, but I don't see it to be a problem.
And
So all new circuits, and so it'll be, or grounded circuits, all be,
So yeah, all the new circuits would be grounded, yes.
as far as all that.
Yep. And those, when we find the knob and tube, instead of just dropping it right there, which you could drop it in the box and be okay, but we're coming all the way back, so we're dragging that all the way back to the breaker box so that we're ready for whatever might have to happen there, and getting that out of there. So it just helps in the long run. Elevator, they
yes,
started
that was
today.
on today.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they say 2 weeks to be finished. So
Okay.
we'll keep fingers crossed. But they are moving their equipment in and starting today. So
Is there any additional separation or check that we can have that won't happen again if we'd have another lightning strike? If there'd be, I don't know what you call it, electrical.
the only thing is to get these grounded, get everything grounded. So when that came in, that apparently probably came in through right there with there's an old antenna up there. Maybe it jumped off of, yeah, I don't know where it jumped from, but it came down from there. It came down into the knob and tube, and there's no ground on it, so it just followed all the way through the courthouse and just ate everything up. We've done a lot with the computers as far as moving them, everywhere, not yet, but most places we've taken care of a lot of those issues.
So how, I wouldn't have thought that being that elevator is relatively new.
Yeah. Oh, you mean for the elevator itself?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we will separate that from all of that now.
that's what I was, you know, because that's such a high dollar expensive thing. I would have thought it would have almost been its own
Yeah,
separate.
really weird how that hit and how many times it hit around the courthouse that day. I don't know. But I mean, we seen 2 dead trees. That could have been as pretty close to that timing. We lost our sprinkler system out in the yard several places, so it obviously shot through the ground, and that was pretty devastating. I don't know that you could ever control it, you know, but hopefully we don't have that again.
Well, if those systems can be isolated to where it can, you know.
And not just that, but a lot of things are now isolated too.
How about the
Kinda
Cat 5
separate.
cable? Didn't it get the Cat 5 cabling as well?
We're moving a lot. Oh, you mean when it came through?
Yeah,
It came through to the phone lines, and I'm not sure where
okay.
from there, but
Did fried hours. Next door over there.
a lot of that.
So
But if I can throw in 2 cents here also to say that One of the problems that also that you've had is you didn't really have any plans that showed what was tied to what electrically within this building whatsoever. And so what we are doing now is we've taken plans that we have, we're putting them into a CAD system and we're putting in, because you've got panel boxes all over this courthouse in various, at least 6 different locations. And so we're starting to tie all those together and try and show how they tie together. And whenever Brian comes up with things, now we're trying to put them in so that when things do go wrong, you can figure out where they are, because the only other old way was start flipping switches.
And just to give you an idea, me and Scott Howard and Mike together combined have about 22 hours of just finding the breakers in that room. Just finding them.
Gee, Chris.
And that's with trackers, that's with everything. So you're trying to track it with a tracker and you may come to a box that it stops at because it runs over here and it's gonna run a vault light. Why?
Goes running to this
Yeah.
box and then back to that box and then over to
Uh-huh.
that box.
So trackers are kind of, they're good, but it's only good with the straight wire going.
Right.
When they jump like that, boy, it's hard to find them. And then when you clip that breaker, you want to know, is somebody shouting at me the next morning that I shut off their power, so
I'm
it
sure
takes a
it's
long time to find all that and everything up there is now marked. So, and that's the server room too. So we got everything up there marked.
All right, so the clerk also got a grant
Uh-huh.
and they're on a timeline till
Mhm.
March, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty good on them because most of
Okay.
that stuff that I'm doing
Yep.
was subbed out. So
Okay,
they're gonna be here February 17th.
okay,
So the doors will be starting to fob. We will have to change a little bit on this door down here, which won't take too long, but it's been ordered and things should come together. I'm good on my part, I think, and I think as far as I know, Scott will be right behind me, so.
okay. And that deadline was for the end of March?
But the deadline
First of
is
March.
purchasing, right? And also we ought to be able to squeeze a little more time out of that because they were very late on that, weren't they?
Yeah,
but it still
says more.
They still say that. Okay,
So everything
We will
needs to
be
be
okay.
purchased by March 1,
Yeah.
but the work itself could be after.
as long as you got a schedule and a date, so we're good, I
So
think.
you'll make that,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Awesome.
The only other thing I would like to do is probably go, I would think it would be executive, but talk about him. Hire new one.
Okay.
So if
Um,
I don't know if you guys are doing lunch or what you got today.
Do you need that before next week or can we
Now,
schedule you
Can we do next week?
next week?
That would
Yeah,
help me a
absolutely.
lot.
Yeah, we'll
because
schedule
I
you an
could go on.
executive session
Okay.
next week.
Sounds good.
And we'll get you a time.
All right, that works good for me, because then I can go back to
Is it
work.
urgent to do it this week or
What's that?
is it more important to do it this
No,
week? Oh,
no.
Yeah, you
Just
said-
I'm not gonna have nobody today, so.
asking.
But by next Tuesday, at least I know where I'm at, so, yeah, that'll work great.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Frank. All right. Thank you, Roger.
All righty.
They scared somebody off.
Were we successful in the grant?
I don't know yet, February 3rd.
Oh, okay, I had it.
This Saturday.
That's right. When he said 3rd, but I just had it in the back of my head that it was last Saturday, because I was in a place I couldn't go. And I was like, "Oh, I missed that."
Yeah, not yet.
All right, I'll still try to. I know you sent me the link. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got it on my calendar. I do have a conflict that morning, so I'll have to just find.
I will let you know.
Please do.
I will send an email.
If something changes.
Either
I'll-
way.
Yeah.
I hope we're successful.
Yes.
Didn't mean a lot.
What was the dollar amount on that?
100,000.
All right, so we have executive session. You have that one right now, right?
It's the.
Which one?
Non-elected HR Commission, County Councilor Finance.
I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 12:12 p.m. to discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A 75-4319B1, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee, and that the board come out of executive session, and you said
30 minutes.
30 minutes in the commission room, courthouse basement, and those present will be 3 commissioners, county counselor, finance, and HR.
Second.
We've been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye, passes 3-0. Okay. We are back in open session. We have a non-elected personnel with commission and HR, 30 minutes.
Just commission and HR. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess an executive session at 12:43 PM to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B1.
Sorry, you're right.
And that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee. And the board come out of executive session in 30 minutes. In the commission room of the courthouse basement, and those present will be the 3 commissioners and HR.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. No. All right, we're back in open session with Mark Zeltner, the finance director, and a K-Work resolution.
Yes, so there's a resolution and bylaws for our work comp insurance K-Work. Kind of similar to the previous work comp insurance we had. We also had a resolution and bylaws. So these are just to adopt those bylaws and for Atchison County to participate with K-Work.
Have these been approved by Pat?
I sent them to Pat, but I don't know if he had discussion with you that he wanted to have with you today.
Okay.
It's not completely an emergency. They don't have to have them back today. If you want to take time next week, that's absolutely fine.
Pat, are you on?
Yes, I have not reviewed them.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really look at them either, so.
Okay, we'll leave them in here then and
For the
do it
next
next
week?
week.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I apologize. I did see that on there. I totally forgot about it.
Okay, Mark Zeltner, 2025 budget discussion.
Yeah, so I had prepared the commissioner budget and the county general budget. For more or less kind of for time filler if we needed it. So it was added on the agenda before other things were, so as things happened, it got pushed out. And that's totally fine. We don't have to go over this stuff today. Like I said, it was more for a time filler. Because I like I said, had them prepared, but we don't have to look at them today. If you want to push it out for another week, that's fine too. But if you want to, we can sure go with it.
I want to say, we're gonna have quite a few things on their plate the next couple meetings, or do we want to go ahead and?
Just kind of the rough draft presentation. I'm okay with that. If we're just kind of do us an overview, and then we look at it closer. What do you guys think?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think the next couple of weeks. and then you
It's a ball. It's the main thing. Okay, you said that.
Okay, so I don't know if you wanna, let's just start with the commissioners, if that's okay. I can forward it to you again if you.
No. I just.
Well, go ahead.
So. Like, kind of we indicated in workshop, keeping that 3%. Cost of living increase in there and all other expenses pretty minimal. I just put a 3% cost of living for personnel.
You're on which one, Commissioner?
Yeah, so,
Commissioners.
oh, okay, from January 25th.
Did you
That's the
send?
one we're looking at?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
there's 3 attachments.
Mhm.
So then I adjusted capers
No, we're.
Oh,
to
January
January
25th.
25th.
Got it. Thank you.
So capers, Retirement, the benefits were all adjusted based on that 3% in personnel increase. State unemployment, elected did not receive unemployment, so that's remaining at 0. Office supplies, leaving it at 500, and this is all just what I entered, so we can adjust it how you see fit, but 500 for the printing, that would get cartridge and toner and ink for your printer over there for the year. It's averaging about, we need to replace the ink twice a year. So that's kind of what the price is going to equivalent there. And then license and dues. The only thing listed in here is for the Kansas County Commissioner Association dues of 534 annually. If there's other dues that each of you want to have, we can add those.
Oh, yeah, my American Dental Association. Street, about $3,000 worth altogether, is that in there?
Okay. The only things I had down for training from historical is the United Way Leadership Breakfast. There was a placeholder for budget workshop if any of you wanted to attend with me. And then I wasn't for sure if there was any other training that you had that you wanted to go to. And then travel mileage, I wasn't for sure if you wanted to claim any or if you wanted to take care of that on your own.
Yeah, I didn't this year going to Wichita, so I mean, I was going to, but not a big deal.
I never turn in any mileage, I just
Yeah,
go.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. You still want to do the United Way Leadership Breakfast?
Yeah, but wouldn't that, I almost went to better advertising or something different than training.
Okay.
Where would it be under like the appropriation United Way 1650?
Oh, that's true. That probably-
That way it's clean.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, did we still do the partnership with putting it on? The
The city,
leadership
yeah, we
breakfast?
split it with city.
We
Yeah.
split it, and then, but then this was our half, or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was,
Cause it was like the 3,000 something.
Mhm.
total, I thought.
yeah.
okay,
But yeah, I think under an appropriation, so you see
Okay.
give to United Way and that
I
amount.
think the first year we did it was like, oh, it was well over 1,400. It's just what food costs and done. It's just gotten.
Okay. So you can let me know of any other changes if you want,
I
but
like that under appropriations better. That makes sense.
we can move on since you kind of want to keep it. You can go to the county budget next. The county general. Some of the key ones on here, so our tort liability, that's our insurance where K-Camp is funded. That's just a huge question mark right now. I don't know what to put there until we have maybe a little further dive into it. So I just kind of left it alone. But the other thing is the court appointed attorney line item. It's hard to estimate. One year we have 15,000. The next year is 45,000. And maybe Pat can say more to it, but after visiting with the court clerk, these invoices and expenses fall for district court that our 4 court appointed attorneys cannot handle because there are conflict. There's some sort of conflict with the case.
It's just defense.
Right. So we have no idea how many cases there's going to be or how many need for attorneys there's going to be. Bria did not have any idea. We went off of different averages and it's hard to know. So I don't know what we want to put here. Currently, we need 168,000 for the 4 contracts. Anything above that would be to pay those invoices we get.
what was that figure?
168,000.
That's for all the defense, the contracts, defense attorney contracts.
Right.
Oh, that's, and then there's more in here.
Yeah.
So I only put 15 at right now, just to kind of have some
Okay.
idea.
Well, in the past, on this, we've had problems before because there was no one that was submitting anything as far as projected increase or
Right.
anything there. We
Right.
have to have somebody put something.
And I don't know how you're gonna know that. So that's what I'm saying is I talked to the court clerk and she didn't know how many cases she was gonna have.
Well, but I'm talking about maybe this is. Is it something else that? Remember the contracts with, we have the four, is it
Uh-huh.
four?
Yeah.
No, that's it.
That's
Yeah.
168,000.
But have they been raised any from last year? 168,000.
Well, we just did the increase to
Yeah.
3,500.
Yeah, they just got those all done.
Okay, so you don't anticipate, well,
I
that's,
just signed the documents last Tuesday.
yeah.
Yeah, so we should be good this year. The question is, if she gets a trial where you gotta fly people in
Right.
and put them in
Mhm.
hotels and all that kind of stuff, or a bit, or a conflict, if you have to hire an attorney, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And
Are you able to gauge from historic?
Yeah,
To know like maybe a 10% buffer or 15% buffer, or
yeah, I mean,
like, I don't know,
we can run those historical averages and
based on well, it would be on their old rate too. Of how much they,
yeah, and so anything outside of these four contracts is whatever rate they want to bill us. It does not
oh,
matter. It,
So
'cause we're at the mercy of that lawyer.
so once they reach their,
No, this is outside of the $168,000. Those four lawyers cannot participate in some cases.
okay,
So to
So-
get a different lawyer here.
the wild card is that.
Yes,
Hmm.
and then, is there like a reserve fund with this?
no,
Okay, there's no, okay, so
No.
fine, so there's no buffer that way.
no, so we need to figure out how much we're gonna allot towards that.
I think what you got in here is as good as any guess. I mean.
Yep. We weren't over much last year, but a little. So it's just trying. There's a lot more cases now than in the past, so Bria had mentioned that the judges want the dockets filled and they want to keep it moving forward, so that number should probably be higher.
They were playing catch up for a while with COVID.
Yes,
I got the
right.
impression they're getting about there, so.
Good. The other thing on here is how much to increase for health insurance. Right now, I just put 10%, but as the year progresses, maybe May, June, Jody and I will have a better number of what that will look like.
Sounds good.
There's a big change with the workers' compensation in the past. It's been itemized in each department's budget. And so removing those from each department and putting it here in county general, kind of like what we did health insurance. It's better to track it this way anyway. So I did an 8% increase for now until we get some better estimates as the year goes on.
By pulling that out of all the other budgets, all the other budgets should look flat or less than last
Yes,
year.
right.
8%
Right.
should be across the board pretty
Right.
much, okay.
And the rest is just pretty standard, keeping the same as the other years.
The vehicle maintenance, is that for
That is just
the
for
county
the
vehicle?
county.
Got it,
Mhm,
okay.
Traverse,
That's used by everybody, whoever needs it,
correct.
got it.
Basically just windshield wipers, oil changes.
Okay.
It does not need a set of tires yet.
It's still 14.9%.
Who's keeping an eye on the car as far as maintenance? and
So it's Michelle's office.
Okay, so is that you?
No,
Oh.
no, I think it's kind of all of us,
Okay.
really. We all look at it and look at the oil change sticker and check the oil. I know I've checked it a couple times, but yes, it's still 14.9%. So, and it will be higher if you want to adjust the insurance, because it right now is a $0 increase at 230,000. Our premium for 24 was 309,000. So it'd probably be a 25% increase if I were to plug that number in. And I reduced it 14,500, looking at our professional fees. It's that last line item, page 3.
Yeah.
I added up all of the fees that were actually charged for certain things, like the FSA, there's a fee to do that, the credit cards. The health insurance has a fee, the auditor, those types of things. And we've budgeted higher every year. So if we take all of those and really get to the real number of what it's going to be, I was able to reduce it 14,500. So this is something you guys can look at and we can come back and reassess some more, but at least you have it to think on it.
Still seems like that 14.9% is high compared to looking at the individual items out. You know, most of them like quarter. Attorneys is 8.19.
Right, health insurance, HSA, those are up 10%. At $140,000.
Well, the workman's comp's right off.
Right, that was added
Yeah,
in.
there's $154,000 in there from the other funds. It's throwing that number off. That's why the 14%.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, we went up 154,000 just with that number alone, because we didn't budget,
in there.
we didn't
Yeah.
have it in there last time.
Yeah, and that's about 8% of the
Yeah.
number I'm seeing roughly in my brain.
And then the last one that I have for you is the county councilor budget. This one doesn't change a whole lot. Again, I added the 3% cost of living placeholder, which adjusts the retirement, the benefits, that type of thing. Based on dues that county councilor has, those numbers are in there, didn't change much. Tax sale, didn't change any of those prices. And you're at about 2.5% increase. And those are all of the budgets I have for you today.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
start.
Mhm,
thanks.
mhm.
Any unfinished business?
How many
Yeah.
total departments are there? We do budgets,
Oh, I don't know, 15,
about 15 or
probably.
something. Yeah.
There's a few knocked out anyway.
Yeah, well. It's all pretty close.
Unfinished business? I have a couple things, Kaylee, on February 13th. We would like to have an attorney-client executive session for 30 minutes. County Counselor, Finance Director, and Commissioners. Next week, February 6th, executive session. 20 minutes. Commissioners, oh, sorry, it's non-elected personnel. Maintenance, commissioners and HR. And finance director. And then, our meeting, workshop on Friday. This Friday, sorry, we need to add an executive session at the end of it, please. And that's all I have for my notes on upcoming things. What else do we need to add to upcoming agendas?
Is it gonna be non-elected?
Yes. For anything unfinished that we need to add to upcoming agendas? Oh, yes. Non-elected with admin, senior village next week. Yeah, sorry, next week, and non-elected. Executive session, 30 minutes. 15 minutes, 15 minutes, please. Commissioners. Senior village admin and HR and county counselor.
So how long for the non-elected on Friday after your work session?
2 hours. And what else? Let me look at my inbox because that's where I get all my reminders here. We did that. Okay, I think that's all I have right now for unfinished business. County councilor updates? Pat?
Oh, we're waiting on that. I did see someone from the chamber. And we talked about the chamber banquets coming up.
Yep.
And we do have the one table.
Uh-huh.
And it's taken care of with our contribution, so it's not something other than. In the past, we had the contribution and then we paid for our table, so we have one table to fill, so
And you're going,
yes, I'm finally going.
and Alan's out of town,
Yeah,
and I'm going.
I didn't even see that there, I just.
Yeah, I kept it here so we didn't forget. Okay. All right. Sorry, county councilor updates?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was, we have, on the tax sale, we do have the date set for that. That is February 27th. It will be at 3 p.m. Will be at Memorial Hall. Registration is open, so people may go to the county's website to sign up to get a bid number. After someone signs up, we have to verify that the person doesn't owe any taxes in Atchison County, because we can't sell to anybody who has delinquent taxes in the county. And then we'll send another email to approve them. We have had a few registrations come in, but it looks like we're all set and ready to have that tax sale the end of
Awesome.
next month.
Awesome, thanks, Pat. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so executive session, we have a 10-minute attorney-client, county councilor, finance director, and commissioner.
Second, I'm unprepared.
You're fine.
Attorney-client, 10-minute, and
County councilor, finance, commissioners.
I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 1:35 p.m. for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session in 10 minutes in the commission room, courthouse basement, and those present will be the three commissioners, county councilor, and did you say HR? Or
Sorry, county
Finance.
councilor, finance.
finance director?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Okay, we are back in open session. I would look for a motion to allow the chair to sign the escrow acceptance letter as presented from the county councilor. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. All right, I'd look for a motion to approve this week's expenses as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is 3-0. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0.